Hello, and thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Journey Norris, and we have our guest, Sheree Srader, the Senior Director of Planning and Construction Services. Today on Campus and Community Conversations, Mrs. Srader will give us the 411 about all the construction going on around campus, plus she'll share details about residence halls that are offline. So let's get started. Thank you for joining us, Mrs. Srader. How are you today?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
So we're just going I'm great. We're just gonna dive right into it, okay?
Okay, sounds great.
There are several campus buildings undergoing development, and some are getting facelifts. Can you share with us some of the buildings that are going in construction?
I can. So for the community center, the UCC, I noticed that people will stop and look at it now. We did paint the outside, so it's not your imagination. You didn't just imagine it got painted. We also renovated the first and third floors. The first floor was just an upgrade of the flooring and the lighting so that it was more inviting, more welcoming. You feel good about, paying and sitting and eating. The third floor was an adaptive reuse where we took out previous stationary activities and we actually moved the gaming from the campus center and a couple of other locations on campus so that it was a consolidated effort. And again, the flooring, the painting, the lighting, the virtual reality moved from the lower level of West Commons to the third floor of UCC. And so now that's there for the students for like a one-stop shop. And the good thing is that when you get tired of playing games, you can go downstairs and get Chick-fil-A. One of the other areas, TLC received a little bit of a refresh. Some people noticed it, some people may not have, but the common areas were painted over the winter holidays, and there's actually a second phase coming where we are going to replace the floors, the lighting, and it's mostly in the public areas, and then we will also be looking at two of the lecture halls because they have some love that they need. They have some opportunities. We are trying to make spaces a lot more modern, but also we're trying to respond to needs and pedagogy from both the student perspective and the professor's perspectives. And then the library is undergoing continued changes. The third floor of the library had a lot of changes a couple of semesters ago. We are continuing to do that, and we're actually trying to consolidate some of the student services so that if a student is in need of, tutoring, for example, the next plan is to move tutoring to the third floor of the library because it really is in the academic heart and core of the campus, and that way, I hope from a student perspective, they realize they're not running from here to there to everywhere. It's more of a one-stop shop. And the UCC, the library, and the TLC will kind of become that one-stop shop for a lot of student services.
Absolutely, and touching on what you just said about the UCC being all for the students, what was the overall strategy to that? How did you come up with being the UCC having just one centralized place for students?
So UCC, I have to admit, when I was a student here, it was the student center.
Okay.
So it has had a few changes in its lifetime. It's gone from being the student center to more of a multi-focus center, and then it had a lot of administrative activities and some student activities, and then the food court. So what we're trying to do now is we are really trying to engage that whole sector of the campus. And one of the things that, we had some students complain about, well, we can go to the campus center, but then if we want to eat, we have to go somewhere else. Or we can go to the UCC and eat, but if we want to, just get together and play games, play pool, do the virtual reality, esports, anything like that, it was just in so many different areas on campus. So ideally, now what we've created is an actual community location for students. And we are seeing, for those that have used it, it's kind of had a soft opening, so people have been going in and out. Yeah. And we really have seen more traffic in there, given that it's a soft opening, than we anticipated. So I'm really excited about that. I hope the students realize that that's what we're trying to do. And it's one of those things that will continue to evolve as funds become available. We don't have a plan for the second floor yet, but we're looking at now what do we do with the second floor? How do we engage that to where it truly is a student-centric location?
Absolutely.
And again, with the library being right there, that's why some of the more academic needs we're trying to locate in the library in TLC, where I want to have fun or chillax or what have you, becomes that UCC location. And for housing purposes, it's kind of an easy, except for Arborview, bless their hearts. Unfortunately, I can't do a whole lot about the hills and valleys on campus, but UCC is very well located for suites in Center Point and the Oaks. Arborview has to walk a little further or ride the bus just a little longer.
Absolutely. At least they're getting their steps in. If they do live in Arborview, they're getting their steps in wearing your Apple Watches, I guess.
Yes.
So now let's shift gears. We're going to talk about Tyus Hall. And at first it was a residence hall. Yes. And then during 2021, it was used to house COVID-19 students. What is its purpose today?
Demolition.
Okay.
So way back in another century, I lived there. And I'm looking forward to it coming down. No, it served its purpose. There are some resident halls that were very well built, but they were very purpose built, and it's hard to renovate that or have an adaptive reuse. So Tyus Hall will actually be demolished. Right now it's going through the due diligence program that the system office has, along with the Department of Community Affairs reviews all historic properties, and because it is more than 49 and a half years old, it has to go through that process. So we are doing that due diligence, and I anticipate the demo to happen in the mid to late summer.
Perfect. And are there any more buildings on campus that are offline that we really don't know about?
Probably. It's not really something that's advertised. You'll just notice people aren't using them. Anthropology is offline.
Okay.
So that used to be where a lot of your fellow mass comm folks were housed, and they have moved to Miller Hall. And that building is also under the due diligence process for demolition. Gun Hall is offline now. It was the swing space for art and music when we were doing the humanities renovation project. And we don't really know what its future is right now. It's just not going to come back online as housing. And then there's Bowden. Bowden is actually a quasi-housing right now. It's used for either emergency cases where if we have somebody coming in and there's nowhere for them to go yet in one of the other housings like the Oaks or Center Point, then they're in Bowden. We're also looking at Bowden Hall as a possibility for the summer camps.
Okay, perfect. And I know we touched on this earlier, but what is the timeline for all of these renovations to be happening?
Oh gosh, I wish I could say there was an actual timeline. It's really hard because a lot of what we do is fund-based. So it's when the funds are available, then we jump into projects. It's also dependent on the types of disruptions that we cause, especially to the academic program. So there are some projects that we have to wait until the buildings are empty. For example, Pafford Hall. The Pafford building will be renovated starting in this summer. But some of the other buildings like the library, we try not to do heavy renovations during semesters because it is a disruption for the students.
Of course.
And then quite frankly, everything costs more money than anybody has. So a lot of it is truly waiting on funds to be available before we can move forward with projects. So I would say in the next 2 to 3 years, you'll continue to see these pockets of renovations throughout the campus.
Absolutely. So overall, how would this help the student experience and the campus community as a whole?
So ideally, when we're doing our renovations in what I'll call the academic focused buildings, the E&G buildings, the difference that you'll see more modern technology. Sometimes it's a matter of just more modern everything, the floors, the paint, the lighting. A lot of times the physical experience has as much to do with the comfort a student feels when trying to, learn anything. If you're in a dungeon, like some of our buildings have felt like, it's not conducive to the learning experience. From a community perspective, like a campus community perspective, creating spaces where students can meet with each other without feeling like they're the ones that's in the way is one of the things that we've tried to focus on because, whether it's true or not, there's a perception, well, I can't go to this building because if we're loud, they'll kick us out. Mm-hmm. Or we can't do it here because they close at 5. So trying to find buildings that are truly student-centric and can be more of that 24/7 type of experience without being actually, 24/7 is one of our efforts so that students feel comfortable actually staying on campus because, as you know, a lot of times Thursday night,
Yeah,
you see a mass
everybody's
exodus.
gone.
Yeah. So in, creating reasons to invite students to stay, or really even creating reasons for the community to come in
Absolutely,
and
yeah.
experience the campus and what it has to offer is, one of our goals. But, the main goal really is to make sure that the student learning experience improves and, that people graduate.
Perfect.
At the end of the
Yeah.
day, the ideal scenario is student comes, they're here, and then they graduate, and hopefully they have great things to say about West Georgia and send their kids here.
So last question, Sheree. Are there any other structural redesigns or upgrades that we can expect in the future?
Mostly it's Pafford right now. We are in the design process, so interior demolitions will start this summer, and then we'll start actually seeing the renovation of the space. A lot of classrooms will be brought up to more, modern pedagogy and, again, aesthetic and feel. And then we'll have, hopefully, small cap projects that would be, improving some of the classroom spaces in Callaway, and TLC needs a little more love. Well, it needs a lot of TLC is what TLC needs. But in even the Ed Center, there's room for improvement there. So again, like I said, hopefully what we're seeing over the next few years is that influx of, even if it's just small pockets of funds, you'll start seeing more improvements in instructional spaces and public spaces.
Well, thank you so much for talking to us today.
Absolutely.
And I can wait to see all the renovations that's happening on campus.
It's exciting. If you haven't been to Humanities yet, you really need to go through.
I need to go.
You
I
need
really
to
need to
go.
go.
I can be proud of that one. So.
Thank you to the viewers for tuning in today, and we'll see you next time on Campus and Community Conversations.